Hello, welcome to this Magic the Gathering deck. Today we're doing a mono black deck. It's meant for, modern, casual, kitchen table. It's easy to play, cheap to build, and it is very efficient and has a few tricks up its sleeves. So for lands, we're just doing 22 basic swamps since it's mono. And our first card is Duress. So for just one black, we get to look at our opponent's hand, which is in and of itself really good. On top of that, we can make them discard a non-creature, non-land card of our choice. So I use this to take away the sorceries, the instants, and the enchantments. This will really mess them up badly. It's almost like having a counter spell, except you counter the spell before it even happens. So I run 4 Duress. Next up is Apetite for brains. So target opponent reveal his or her hand again. We get to choose a card with converted mana cost 4 or greater and exile it. This is really good for just 1 mana. And also, since the card is exiled, it prevents them from flashbacking it or reanimate it. By the way, in case you don't know what converted mana cost is, let me show you. This card here has the converted mana cost of 2, while this card has the converted mana cost of 4. So that's how it works. Anyway, I run 2 Appetite of brains, Appetite 4 brains rather, and you can run 3 Appetites and 3 Duress if you like. It's really up to your preference. Next up is Distress. Following the trend of revealing our opponent's hands, we get to choose any non-land card from it, and they have to discard it. You can take a creature card with Distress, but I usually don't, since we have a fair amount of removal with this deck. Usually creature is not really a threat, so I just go for the spells almost always. Just take away their combo. We have 4 Distress, which makes for 10 cards in total that reveals our opponent's hands and making them discard cards, which is a really good amount. Next up is Dash Hopes. This card is really good. It's a straight up counter spell for black. However, if any player, which means could be even ourselves, pay 5 life, this card, Dash Hopes itself, gets countered. Or you can just throw a cancel at it. But anyway, nobody expects to see a counter spell in black, which is why I like this card so much. And also it's common, it's easy to get by, it's really cheap. It surprised me. I thought this would be like a really hard to get card. I run 2. It's not really a counter spell deck, I just keep them for fun. Next up is Doomblade. Everybody knows this card. So it's the most basic black removal. Destroy target non-black creature. Doomblade, which by the way was uncommon in Magic 2014, but common in Magic 2011. I run 3 Doomblades, and as a side note, if a creature is, say, example green and black, Doomblade would not work on it. Or if it's, say, blue and has a black enchantment on it, it still counts as part black, and Doomblade will not work on it. Just so you know. Next up is Victim of Night. This is the best removal card in this deck. I get excited just thinking about how many creatures I have slain with this card. Destroy target non-vampire, non-werewolf, non-zombie creatures. That means all the dragons, all the angels, even the demons, the hydras, the little guys that build up over time. All of them just go straight down the pipe with this one. I run 4 Victim of Night, of course. It's a really good removal spell. Next up is Devour Flesh. So target player, again that could be us as well. Target player sacrifices a creature, then gains life equal to that creature's toughness. This card is really good in this deck. It works against hexproof, which is nice. It's a sneaky card that way. But we can also play it on ourselves. We have a few big creatures in this deck, and if, let's say, they are pacified, meaning they can't attack or block, we can just sacrifice them with this card, gain some life, hopefully survive to the next turn, and try to hope for a comeback of some sort. So I run 3 Devour Flesh, and they are surprisingly good and surprisingly efficient. And they also have a combo with another card, which is about to come up. But before that, we have the ever classic Sign in Blood. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. I will play this mostly on myself, but it has the potential to kill an opponent as well, which is really cool. It's another one of those little bits of surprise element. Really, your opponent will not think of this as a dangerous card that can hit them out of the blue and kill them, which is why it's partly that great. Now, Sanguine Bond. This is probably the most expensive cards in the deck. It costs about $2 to $3 depending on condition, so it's not actually expensive, it's just relatively expensive. Anyway, whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So in the case of, for example, Devour Flesh that we saw earlier, we can sacrifice a creature, gain a lot of life and survive, and if we have Sanguine Bond out as well, we will deal damage to our opponent at the same time, meaning really a win-win situation no matter what. I run 2 in the deck, you can run 3 if you want. I do not recommend it, it will pop too often. Next up is Corrupt. This one we do run 3 of. So Corrupt deals damage equal to the amount of swamps that we control, and it deals that damage to a creature or player, which is really good because sometimes you do want to target creatures, though mostly players. Also, we gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. If you combo this with Sanguine Bond, you can easily hit your opponent for 20 damage in a single turn, leaving them with nothing. There is no next turn where they can make a comeback. If they cannot counter this spell straight up, they just lost the game. And there's a lot of ways to make this work. Since we have removal of all sorts of spells and creatures, they simply pave a safe way to this combo. This is the main combo of the deck. This is what it's structured or built around. But we have a few creatures as well, a few good ones, really nice ones. So we have Vampire Nighthawk, the ever infamous vampire shaman. He's a flyer with Death Touch, meaning he can tackle any creature, a big dragon, a big hydra, it doesn't matter, it will die if it trades with him. And he has lifelink. Any amount of life that we can gain as a player is good. And also, combined with Sanguine Bond, potentially, it's almost like he has double strike. Or if they attack, we kill their creature, they will still take damage. It's a really punishing card. I run 3, you can run 4 if you like. I prefer 3, it's a little bit more variation. It open up more free slots for other cards, like this card, Desecration Demon. A 6/6 flyer for just 4 mana, which is really good. He can attack in the air, he can block in the air. He's a very offensive, defensive card, and it comes out so early in the game they have to remove him quickly or deal with him. Otherwise, he's just gonna attack and pretty much win the game just alone. However, our opponent can sacrifice a creature, and then this guy gets tapped. But if they do, he also gets a counter on him, meaning he grows until the next turn. So I think it's an unfair card. It's really good. I run 2. If you want to, you can run 4. They're not really expensive, but I like variation, so I mixed up another 4-drop, which is a really underappreciated card. It's Lilianas Shade. It's just a 1/1 for the whole 4 mana, but when it comes into the play, we get to search our library for a swamp card, and it also has this ability down here, which says if we pump it with 1 black mana, she gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Now, this is an instant, in case you did not know, which means you can activate it during any time of the game, during any phase, during your turn, your opponent's turn, in the middle of combat. So it's really good. You have to almost play around it if you're the opponent. You never know if I wanna, beef this guy up, making, I think it's a her, it looks like her, making her really strong. But the cool thing about this card is that when Desecration Demon hits the battlefield, everybody panics and, oh shit, it's Desecration Demon, we gotta get rid of it fast. But when this guy comes out, nobody reacts. However, you have 4 mana. This card lets you search for a 5th mana our 5th swamp rather, and during the next turn when you lose combat sickness, summoning sickness I mean, you can attack and potentially pump her with 5 mana, turning her into a 6/6, which is the same stats as a Desecration Demon. But this slips the mind of most players I am against. They really don't care about this card, which is good because you can straight up attack and they're like, oh wait, damn, that's a lot of damage. It's a really good card. It's really easy to get by and it's underappreciated, and I really like this card. It's beautiful to look at as well. And the last creature in our deck is Nightmare. So again, we have Flying, which is really good. 6 mana, and it has the power and toughness equal to the amounts of swamps that we control. Now in this deck, it's really good to draw a land. Since we can build on it with Nightmare, we can build on it with Lilianas Shade, we can build on it with Corrupt, and even twice if we have Sanguine Bond. Every extra damage Corrupt deals gets doubled with Sanguine Bond if you have both of them. And it actually pairs really well with Sign in Blood, because when you play Sign in Blood, you pay 2 mana and you draw 2 cards. You will still have a lot of mana on the board to play whatever you draw. So drawing mana in this deck is never really actually bad, and that's more than I can say for a lot of Magic decks. But that does it for this deck. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was inspiring. And thanks for watching. Stay safe.